That brings us to the ukiwaza, the final section of Mr. Tomiki's Nana Hon Kata, or 17, or randori no kata as it's called. The ukiwaza are all floating techniques, and by that we can think of it as floating with the man's movement into an overcoming inertia with the entire movement of our body. So to define that more easily for you, whenever you have a shearing function, so he's taking a step forward and I'm stepping forward and we're stepping together and this is bumping him through like that, that would be a form of ukiwaza. If we have a technique where he's going forward and we're going to take him this way, but I'm not torquing the wrist per se or even the elbow or the shoulder, I'm just turning his whole body from this point, for instance. That's an ukiwaza. If he's taking a step forward and I'm stepping back and extending him in this line, just my whole body moving, but no manipulation particularly dependent on, it's ukiwaza. So often you see this referred to in traditional forms as koku nage, or breath throwing as well, and that's another way to think about it. But ukiwaza is a dependence on the shearing function of the two bodies connecting. The three techniques we have, Mae Otoshi, Sumi Otoshi, Hiki Otoshi, can be entered from a variety of fashions, and it's very popular in many schools to start it from a position starting from the shihonage beginning. And so we can look at that. As the man's coming forward, we may start from the basic shihonage action here into this coil, and from that coil now make a shearing action through him for Mae Otoshi. But it's something that can get very confusing to people, because if I become dependent on the activity of the coiling action here, and I say, oh, I've really got to twist his wrist and coil his elbow and get all excited about that. No, no, no. In reality, you could turn all that loose and just step through him. All this mechanism of twisting from the earlier technique, from the shihonage, just shows a continuity from technique to technique. But functionally in Mae Otoshi, all that's really happening is stepping from behind. And so any form of stepping from behind will do, as long as you're shearing in the direction. So you could just turn 180 degrees, step through him, and you have a pure form of Mae Otoshi. You can make some encounter with the arm if you like, and then step through him, Mae Otoshi again. Again, we could start it with a back step. I think I'll just draw back and then through him, Mae Otoshi once again. Can turn him 180 degrees if you like, and then step through him, Mae Otoshi again. Mae Otoshi just means that shearing function that's going to cut through his line in this forward activity right here. And you do it with the body, so it's very similar, if you think about it, to what happened in Gedenate here. The position is almost identical, except that in Gedenate we're cutting laterally through him and behind his leg. In Mae Otoshi, we're cutting through him forward and taking him into a forward line of throw from in front of his step. So we'll just do a few basic variations. Across and through. Rotating to the outside and through. And it's this brushing position here. And this can be accentuated more. You see forms of this where people have a wild coil and then a driving action right through the shoulder socket. You could potentially injure the shoulder with that sort of thing. I think of it more as a hip socket activity right here, down through the bend of his hip. But regardless of whether you're pushing into a particular shoulder or hip, you could just be behind the guy and stepping at the point of his hip with no deep contact at all. And you still have the basic mechanism of Mae Otoshi. So I hope that helps. Mae Otoshi is a beautiful technique, and it usually is a case of more, less is more. The more I get wound up in trying to make an extra coil or extra rise, you see a lot of people, oh, I'm going to make him go up in the air and then throw him like this. Or you get all wound up in how to ploy off the wrist or elbow. Useful tools, shouldn't ignore them, but they're not the center of it. The center of the activity is just the man's walking forward. Here, let's walk at the camera together. And you're walking with him, and as he takes that step, you take this step. You slide through and displace his center and shear him off into that line. That's the center of what we're talking about when we think about Mae Otoshi. So, good luck.